We are going to be heading out to California for a conference, Clay Clark's third conference in Anaheim. And then after that, we're going to be heading up to Alaska for a bit, just to be in Alaska and enjoy the summer up there. I'll continue to do my daily broadcast, but we're just going to kind of rest up in Alaska where I live. And then in early September, probably the first week of September, we're going to be heading back down to the lower 48 to Richmond. And then just a few days later, we're going to start our next trip, which will be going through the northern states to plant home fellowships. So if you live anywhere in Kentucky, Ohio, or all the states west of Ohio, going all the way to Seattle, Washington, down into Portland, Oregon, and then back east to Richmond. If you live in any of those states, please let us know if you want us to come to have a Patriot meetup and plant a home fellowship like we did through the southern states. It was very successful. We planted many, over a dozen home fellowships from the many cities that we went to, and so we're excited to do it again. And then in October, the month of October, we're planning to do a New England trip. So we'll be going from Richmond north up into Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York State, and then all the New England states. So if you live in any of those states and you want us to come to plant a home fellowship, to have a Patriot meetup and plant a home fellowship, let us know. And you can just email me. My email is right below the video. All right, let's get in the news. There's actually quite a bit to go over today on this Tuesday morning. So first of all, Pennsylvania State Senator Mastriano announces his committee has the votes to audit several counties. Now, again, I talked about the roadblocks that the deep state's trying to put up to stop this, but really they're not able to stop it because he has the votes to force this to happen. Pennsylvania Republican State Senator Doug Mastriano announced that he will launch a forensic investigation of the 2020 general election and 2021 primary. In his announcement, Mastriano detailed his decision and why it is so important. A forensic investigation of our election results and processes for the 2020 general election and the 2021 primary will go a long way to restore trust in our system. Voting is the fundamental right of all citizens. We should continually look for ways to improve the voting process to ensure every voice is heard. Today, as chair of the Intergovernmental Operations Committee, I issued letters to several counties requesting information and materials needed to conduct a forensic investigation of the 2020 general election and the 2021 primary. We've asked these counties to respond by July 31st with a plan to comply. The counties represent different geographical regions of Pennsylvania and different political makeups. Some are Republican, while others are Democrat, which means that this will be a balanced investigation. Democrats are in a panic over Mastriano's announcement that his committee has enough votes to force a forensic audit in both Republican and Democratic counties. In fact, Joe Biden himself is scheduled to visit Pennsylvania. He's actually coming in today, July the 13th, to protect the votes. This was released by the White House. It says on Tuesday, July the 13th, today, the president will travel to Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, to deliver remarks on actions to protect the sacred constitutional right to vote. The trip will be pooled press. Additional details to follow. That certainly seems as if Biden and the Democrats are worried about something. Mastriano also detailed how he believes top officials in Pennsylvania may have skirted rules or done things unethically in the election. He says, quote, additionally, in the weeks leading up to the election, the Department of State repeatedly altered the manner in which Pennsylvania's election was conducted. Those who voted in person were held to a higher standard than those who mailed in their ballots. Signatures required for mail-in ballots were rendered meaningless, as the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that ballots could not be rejected based on an analysis of the voter's signature. On September 17th, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled that counties had to count ballots received up to 3 days after Election Day. A week before the election, the Department of State told the U.S. Supreme Court that ballots received after 8 p.m. on November 3rd would be segregated. But the department changed the rules 2 days before the election and directed counties to canvass those ballots upon receipt. The U.S. Supreme Court had to step in and order the counties to segregate the ballots. Just hours before the polls opened on November 3rd, the department changed the rules again by providing late guidance on how to help voters whose mail-in or absentee ballots were incorrectly completed. The guidance resulted in inconsistent application across the Commonwealth. Some counties contacted voters as directed, while others did not. There was no basis for that guidance in current or case law. It would defy logic to assume that an election with the kinds of drastic changes we saw in 2020 would run perfectly with zero errors or fraud, Mastriano said. A full forensic audit is critically necessary for our Commonwealth for the sake of transparency and accountability. There's nothing to fear if there's nothing to hide. Those who have concerns about the integrity of the 2020 and 2021 elections will have those concerns investigated and hopefully addressed. Those who think that there was that there was zero voter fraud, no irregularities, and that elections were conducted perfectly, we'll have the chance to be vindicated, he added. Okay, so Doug Mastriano, going forward, he has the votes to force this in both Republican and Democrat-controlled counties. So praise Yah for that. Now, so Joe Biden is going out there today to say, "Ooh, we've got to protect the sacredness of voting, blah, blah, blah." Ironic that this guy would be saying that. But they're sending Joe Biden out to Pennsylvania today because they are in absolute panic over what Doug Mastriano is doing in Pennsylvania. And so President Trump had this statement that he posted. Frank Medic put this up on his Gab an hour ago. President Trump said this: Joe Biden is going to Pennsylvania today in a rush in order to stop the forensic audit that the Pennsylvania Republican Senate is in the process of doing. Philadelphia was a cesspool of corruption, which will soon be revealed by the audit. Why are they so concerned that a president who never goes anywhere would hop onto beautiful Air Force One and head to Philadelphia if it were an honest election? Why not let the audit go forward and make everybody on both sides happy? The results will be the results, but they know it was not an honest election. Philadelphia is one of the most corrupt cities in the country, and so is Detroit, so is Milwaukee, and so is Atlanta, and Pittsburgh, and Oakland, and Baltimore. Corruption has gone on for years, but in the 20th new levels. Remember the poll watchers being thrown out, the windows being sealed so nobody could look in, the ballot drops, and all of the other events that took place that changed so rapidly the big Trump win on election night. Joe should say, go forward with this, with all of these audits. His visit is a joke. He doesn't need to visit. All he needs to do is let them do an audit and find out what happened. Who knows? Maybe they'll say the election was on the up and up. Many people would be shocked. Let the audit go forward like it is in Arizona, despite 107 Democrat lawyers trying to stop it and failing. Let the forensic audit go, Joe. Don't fight it. Show them how honest it was. Yeah, so very good. President Trump responding to Biden's flight out to Pennsylvania, panic flight out to Pennsylvania today, trying to stop what Doug Mastriano is doing in Pennsylvania. Then this is an interview that was carried on by the Gateway Pundit with State Senator Sonny Borelli, who dropped quite a few bombs about the Arizona election audit. During this interview, Borelli spoke with Conradson about the audit, what's expected to happen next, and what Republicans are doing to quell efforts from Maricopa County and the Secretary of State to thwart the audit. So I'm going to go through some of this because this is pretty important stuff. So Conradson asked, so there's a lot of concerns out there about the adjournment. You know, the Senate and the House in Arizona is supposed to adjourn until I think it's January of 2022. The Senate not being able to obtain these materials from the county and the audit not being able to complete. That's what some people think. Can you reassure us that the Senate will obtain these materials and the audit will be completed? And so Borelli said, sure. I mean, it goes right back down to here's the facts. We were not in session when we issued subpoenas back in December, but then we renewed them in January, so those subpoenas are still valid. They're still active. We don't need to be in session. Our legislative authority on investigations did not end. We opened this folder or case, or if you will, if you want to call it that, back in December. That's when we issued a subpoena. Okay, so basically he's just saying these subpoenas still have power, and just because we're not in session, it doesn't stop that. He says, once we get the audit results, remember, we're waiting for this preliminary report to be released. Once we get the audit results, the Senate committee will hear it. The Judiciary Committee will hear. We will make recommendations to go forward on that. And then that special committee will make recommendations. And the reason why it's a joint House and Senate committee hearing, because any kind of decisions that need to be made that is going to be extreme, if you will, is going to have to be vetted through the full body of the House and the Senate. So this is fast. It's a great way to fast track anything if, just in case the governor does need to call us in for a special session. That committee is what will determine the urgency of having a special session. The governor does not need to call us in to follow through and finish up the audit. We are fully vetted to do the whole thing. We don't need the governor to intervene to call us in or anything like that. This is in play whether we're in session or not. The legislature's investigative authority does not stop, so it's going to continue on until the end. So again, just because they're not in quote unquote session, basically he's saying it doesn't matter. It's not going to stop them being able to respond to the audit report when it's released. So then the Gateway Pundit asks, when can we expect either the county to comply with the subpoenas or the subpoenas to be enforced? And he responds, that's a good question. Now, you know, we're still pushing on them. They keep saying that they're not going to comply no matter what, but there are other tools in the toolbox that we're examining, and after they're done finishing up. If you've been down there at the Coliseum and watching it, they're going through another, not a hand count, a machine count, counting every ballot so that way you got a hand count. I counted those ballots and checked them out, check it twice. and we're running through the machine process. So see if the numbers jive. I want to make sure that we're accurate. Everybody's wanting answers now. Everybody's used to instant potatoes and instant rice. Look, this is something that we can't have any mistakes on. It's got to be 100% accurate. We need accuracy, not speed. On election night, let's face it, the pressure is on for speed to get the results in. There's no sense of urgency here for speed. We don't have a dead deadline date. We need to get this done accurately, and we have to make sure that our findings are bulletproof because we know it's going to get challenged in court. This is probably going to be the most challenged audit litigated in probably U.S. history or world history. So we got to make sure that we are 100% accurate on any of the findings that we find, and we will go from there. Then also Arizona GOP Chairman Dr. Kelly Ward recently provided a major update on the audit and what comes next. Last week, it was revealed that a whopping 9 state delegations will tour the Maricopa County Audit Facility on Friday. Ward, who threatened that there could be arrests of people who are refusing to comply, says the audit could be completed